Hello everybody, it's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you guys could stop by. It's time for a new Tuesday tip video, and today we're going to create another great project that's kind of gone along with my masterclass on desk organization. So today, how about we tackle all those crafting tools? You know, we have the scissors and the bone folders and all those things. I'm going to show you how to create a sectioned off little tool caddy that's going to look gorgeous sitting on your crafting desk. I think you're going to really like today's DIY project, so I say we go get started. This is what a craft tool caddy looks like. You can see it's all compartmentalized. So I have a place for some of my most used tools. I especially like my little glue holder right inside the middle. I do like to keep my multi-purpose glue upside down so that when I'm ready to use my glue, it's always down at the bottom. So there was a reason I chose to do it that way. It's a fabulous little caddy. I'm excited to teach you how to create it. So let's talk all about the cardstock we need to create it. Let's talk designer series paper. You're going to want to choose your favorite designer series paper. I'm going to be using the Lovely in Linen, but of course you're going to want to pick something that matches your crafting space just right. So I have 3 pieces here. This is a 1 3/4 by 12. I have one that is 4 by 7 1/4, and this one here 2 inches by 5 1/4. So you can see it doesn't use a ton of designer series paper. Let's go ahead and bring in our cardstock. So for those compartments, this is so easy. Sweet sorbet quarter sheets, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Easy peasy, right? We've got one more piece that's going to go along with that, and that is for the glue insert, and that is a 2 3/4 by 3 inches. Now, you are going to need just a few more pieces of cardstock to decorate. Sweet sorbet, flirty flamingo, and adhesive sheet. So these 3 pieces are all the same. It's a 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 inch square. And then to add our word craft, we're just going to use a scrap piece of Night of Navy. Mine is a 1 1/4 by 5 inches, but guys, just some scrap will work great there. Speaking of scrap, I'm going to be using just a piece of scrap. Guys, this can be anything. It's not going to show. Maybe you've got, well, we've all got a ton of scraps, but this could even be just some piece of junk cardstock that you had laying around, whatever. It is 2 inches by 5 1/4. Lots of measurements, I know, but don't worry. I actually have a tutorial you can purchase at SimplySimpleStamping.com. You can look down in the YouTube description and you'll get a direct link. But what's great about this little simple tutorial is that, look, I've got diagrams to help you put the entire project together. So if you're more of a visual learner, you're going to love having this really nice, very affordable tutorial on hand. So let's get started. We're going to create those compartments. So I've got all 3 of my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces of cardstock. You can use your Simply scored board or your paper trimmer with the scoring blade. Just make sure that cutting blade, that's the dark one. Let's get that up and out of the way. We only want to be using that light blade. All right, so we're going to start with the 4 1/4 inch up at the top, and you are going to score at 1 1/2 inches on each side. Okay, so it's just easier sometimes to go 1 1/2 inches on each side versus trying to figure out where to slide it down to. It's just a Connie thing. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take that 5 1/2 inch side up at the top, and this is going to be scored at 2 inches on each side. All right, that is what we need to do. I'm going to repeat that with my remaining pieces of cardstock. All right, these are scored. Let's do some cutting. So what we want to do is there's going to be 2 squares. So I've got the 5 1/2 up here at the top. See these 2 squares? We're going to cut along that score line. And I know it's a little hard for you to see, but once I get it cut, you'll know. And when you're doing the project, you'll definitely be able to see those. So see that little tab? We're going to trim down this tab. And by the way, this is the only thing you should be cutting on. We're going to cut from the inside of that square to that outside corner. We're just going to kind of cut off a little triangle. This just makes this project go together a little bit cleaner, neater. We're going to do this here on the other side, and I'm not sure if I said it, but we want to cut off the score line if you're not sure where to cut. So I want that score line to be on this tab, all right? So we'll cut This one, it's going to be to the left of the score line. Over here, it was to the right of the score line. Neatness is not going to count. Don't you love that? Because it's not going to show. We're going to have it all covered up in some pretty designer series paper. That is what your little box should look like. And guess what? We're going to repeat that with our other 2 pieces of cardstock. All right, they've all been cut. I now want to come in with my bone folder and give all of those creases, all those score lines, a really good crease. You've probably heard me say it before, but when it comes to boxes, you do want really good harsh lines. You know, we don't want a box that has kind of a rounded fold. We want that sharp fold. And I've always thought my bone folder is one of my most used tools. I do absolutely love having that when I'm creating any of my cards, or especially my boxes. All right, I'm going to set 2 of these aside so I can show you how we're going to put this together. So we're going to take these 2 inside tabs, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you first. We're going to adhere it to the outside of one tab, and then we're going to bring this one around and sandwich it in between. Can you see how you're not going to see it? Great, we love that. So I'm going to start, and guys, you don't need a lot of glue here, just enough to kind of hold it in place, because remember, we're going to sandwich it in between cardstock, so it's going to get secure here in just a minute. On the outside, remember this is on the outside, and if you're wondering why I do that, it's because it's going to make the inside of the box look pretty, rather than having that tab, which when our tools are going in and out, could make it difficult, that we could catch it. We don't want that, right? Now, for the outside tabs, I want to make sure I'm getting glue all the way to those edges. You know, glue can get away from you, right? So make sure you're not going too heavy. You notice I put the tip of my glue. I'm touching the cardstock with the tip, and then just giving it a gentle squeeze. But we want to make sure we're all the way to those edges, just a little bit there in the middle. Again, we're going to be covering all of this with some designer series paper. It's going to have lots of opportunity to hold in place, so I'm not too worried about it. Bring those tabs around. I can bring my fingers in here, and that is box number 1. My friends, repeat that with your remaining 2 boxes. Now, if you've missed any of the measurements, or maybe you just love those diagrams and written instructions, I have created a tutorial that goes along with my paper crafting tool, Caddy. You can find that over at simplysimplestamping.com, or you can just look down in the YouTube description. There's going to be a direct link to where you can get the download. Guys, it's going to make things so much easier for you. Be sure to head over and check that out. But it's time for me to share with you how we're going to take those little boxes and we're going to put them all together to create that fun caddy. All right, there are our 3 boxes. All right, so that's the beginning of our caddy. I want to adhere these 3 boxes together, but I want it to be, and I've got a diagram for this as well, but you want to make sure you're not bringing your rectangles this way. We want them long, okay? So kind of having this look. And just like we've been doing, I'm just going to make sure I'm getting that glue all the way to the edges. Start with just 2 of them. Make sure we're all lined up and press those together. Now my last box will adhere on this end. All right, boxes together. So remember that strip of designer series paper. We want to kind of do our best to center this up in on the front of those boxes. So you know what? I think I'm just going to put my glue here on the box. Remember, we're not going all the way to the the top and bottom edge, I should say, because this designer series paper is meant to let a little bit of that sweet sorbet kind of show through, but I want to make sure I get these edges. Like I said, we're going to take that designer series paper, center it up on the front. We don't have to be exact, but you know, let's try to get as close as we can. I can give that a press. I like using the multi-purpose glue because I do have the ability to slide my designer series paper around if I didn't quite get it on where I wanted it. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap the designer series paper. Look at that. Oh my goodness, could it have been any more perfect? I'm so glad it worked out that way because I didn't want anything here on the back. So I'm going to put now some glue here on the side. So let's go ahead and start with the sides. I don't want to get glue everywhere just yet, but I do want to go ahead and bring that one over. You can kind of get your fingers in there to press that down. Now some glue here on our final piece, and we'll adhere down that last piece. And guess what? We're going to repeat that here on the other side. This would make a great gift for a crafting friend because it doesn't use a lot. You can customize it for it. Trust me, they're going to love it. All right. See, look, the back is just as pretty as the front. All right. Now, this is awesome, but it's pretty lightweight. It's going to tip over. So we're going to create a platform for it because remember, we're going to be having all these tools in here, right? We got all our tools. We don't want it to fall over. So for our platform, I've got those remaining 2 pieces of designer series paper, and remember that scrap. So what we're going to do with the scrap is we're going to adhere it to the middle of the back side of our designer series paper. I want this to be the platform. You can choose whichever one, but just remember we're going to adhere this cardstock to the back of that designer series paper. Remember, it won't show, so I'm not at all worried that the color doesn't match my designer series paper. You could also use the back of your designer series paper, that kind of cardstock. If you wanted to use a heavier cardboard, cereal box, cracker box, you could do that too, whatever works for you. We're gonna do a little trimming, and what we wanna do is we're gonna cut at an angle right here by that point, okay? Neatness doesn't count here either, but we're just gonna cut. Can you see how I went right to that point? Let me repeat it right here. Doesn't have to look good. It's all gonna be covered up. I'm gonna fold this designer series paper over. I'm gonna give it a crease with my bone folder. And as I said, this will be hidden, but we're gonna go ahead and glue all of these down after I've given them all a crease. Now we can come in with just a little bit of glue. We don't have to go crazy here with the glue. Again, I'm gonna be hiding it. I'm gonna be covering it up. So it's just kind of a temporary hold here. Again, not pretty, but not to worry. We have this little piece and it's gonna go right on top. This one, we're gonna make sure we get the glue all the way to the edges. And now we cover up the bottom. I'll just line that up. Again, now you can see why I love using multi-purpose glue because I have the ability to slide that little piece around. That piece that I just put down, that's the bottom of our box because we want this one to be the top. This is where everything's folded and rounded. You know, we want it to look nice. Okay, we're gonna come in with our finished little box and I'm gonna adhere it down to the center of my platform. So I'm gonna put my multi-purpose glue here. And guys, I do want to be very clear. If you're not a multi-purpose glue fan, that is fine. It's not, it's a little bit messy for me. So I also like to use tear and tape. I like the strength of the multi-purpose glue, but I do also love my tear and tape. So what I want to do is line that up in the center of that platform. I'm going to give it a little press. You can even come in with a couple of your clear blocks. That always seems to help. You can come in and press down. Now, remember about that little glue insert? I'm going to show you how we're going to create that. We're going to bring in that 2 3/4 by 3 inches of sweet sorbet. And guys, we are going to score at 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. Okay, so this one, whoops, see, Connie almost did it. Cutting blade out of the way. We want to score. So I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. And we're going to do a little bit more of that mitering again. So remember how I told you to cut off the score line so that it's going to be on the little square tabs? We're going to do that here as well. So you notice there's my score line. I want to go to the right, just barely to the right, and cut from the inside to the outside. And by the way, we're also going to get the outside edges as well. So we're mitering on all of these, on both sides. And it should look like this. So all of your edges, all of your little squares on the end should be mitered. We're going to die cut a circle from the middle of this. Now you can use your favorite circle dies. I'm gonna bring in the stylish shapes. That size circle was just right. By the way, look in your dies, look in your punches. You might have a punch that will even work here. You just want it to be about 7/8 of an inch, maybe 3 3/4 all the way around the inside, all right? Not the die itself, but we want that opening to be about that big. You could probably even pull off a 1 inch if that's what you have. But yeah, a punch, a circle die, whatever works. Let's run that through our die cutting machine, and that's what it's going to look like. So that is the holder. That's where our glue will kind of sit nicely in our box. Now, I do want to take just a quick second. If you wanted to keep your glue facing up, you could just skip this all together and your glue is going to sit perfectly in the box. But like I said, I'm a fan of having it upside down. So this piece is optional. We're going to take these tabs and we're just going to adhere them to the inside. I hope you can see what we're going to do there. Just like you've been seeing me do, just adhere those tabs right here to the inside. Little bit of glue, just like that. And now we can just adhere these tabs, just line up those outside corners. All right, we'll give those a nice pinch, make sure they're all good. I'm gonna bring in my box. If you want your glue in a different spot, feel free. I'm gonna go with the center one. It may be a little tight, but guys, don't worry about it. Just kind of give it a little press. You notice how it's buckling a little bit? That's fine. And we're gonna press that down. See that? Now our glue is gonna fit perfect there. Okay, this is awesome, but it's a little drab, so let's dress it up. I've been having a great time creating some desk accessories with my alphabet bundle. So this is the alphabet stamp set, or I'm sorry, Alphabest. Oh my goodness, 3rd video, and I just realized that says Alphabest. Oh my goodness, I needed more coffee. But this also comes with the Best Label Punch. You can buy it as a bundle and save 10%, but you could buy them separately as well. Alphabest, I cannot believe I misread that. Well, let's move on. We're going to take that 1 1/4 by 5 inches of scrap Night of Navy, and I have got my little embossing accessory kit here. There's an embossing buddy inside that I'm going to rub all over that cardstock because I want that to be free of any oils that might be on my hands, any of that glue. You know, I did all that gluing, and I don't want any of that to be on here because when I sprinkle it with embossing powder, guess what? It's going to stick to everything. So that kind of cleans my cardstock and make sure it is good to go. We're going to bring in Versamark. Now, I want to share with you the previous 2 projects. I said create and stamp. How about for this one, we say craft. So I'm going to take a Versamark ink pad and we'll stamp CR. By the way, you notice I'm spacing these out because we're going to be punching them. I don't have to worry about getting perfectly straight or anything. Again, we're going to be punching, so it's all good. There is our word craft. Let me bring in my tray. I've got the white embossing powder, and you know what? I love these reversible tweezers. You see, you press them to open, but they stay closed. And what I like to do with that is use it as a handle. It's so wonderful. That way my fingers aren't getting in the embossing powder. Wonderful little tool. I'm going to take my embossing powder. Again, I'm using white, but you could use silver or gold, whatever you want. And remember, you're matching your designer series paper because you might not be using the same paper I am. I'm going to tap off the excess. And here's something else. This kit also comes with this little brush. Look at that. I hope you guys can see. That is where my thumb was when I was using that embossing buddy. So you can really see what a difference that makes. But if you have any little embossing boogers, you want to brush those away with the brush, because let me tell you, any of those that are still on there, they're going to emboss and you're going to see them. All right, that looks awesome. Now, I can now take the cap off of the little spout here and I can pour this back into my container. So it really is a fantastic little tray. time to bring in my heat tool. I always recommend you let it warm up for about 30 seconds before you start to heat set your letters. So you notice that I'm holding my embossing tool about 3 or 4 inches or so away from my cardstock. Oh, do you notice? Look, my fingers aren't getting burnt because I have those fabulous reversible tweezers. I'm just going to move my heat tool back and forth, kind of starting to heat up that embossing powder, but not quite melting it yet. We're just kind of getting things started. And I always find embossing powder to be just magic. I never tire of it. Let me focus on this A. Watch what happens if I just hold it there. Do you see it melting? I'm telling you, it's awesome. So that one's melted. We'll come over to the R. And right, we can just do this with all our letters. Once that embossing powder is nice and melted, we're going to be good to go. But my other tip is you want to let this cardstock cool before we punch anything out. I speak from experience. I have one that's got a big old smudge on it because I tried to immediately go in and punch. Yep, that's pretty hot. So we're gonna leave it just like it is. Let that cool for just a minute. And then we're gonna come in with our best label punch and we're gonna punch out all of our letters. All right, it is ready to go. So I can just slide that into my punch, and you notice I'm using it upside down because I wanna make sure I'm getting all my letters good and centered. As I like to say, remember, this is going to be a piece of art sitting out on your desk. Take the time to really make sure you're getting those nice and straight. Now, once you cut a couple of them, you're probably going to need to trim away so you can continue with your remaining letters. All right, there are my letters. Now we're going to do something kind of odd. We're going to spell it backwards and flip it over. So it's going to be T, F, A, R, C. All right, so to put these letters together, I'm going to bring in Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to use the black ones because this is a dark cardstock. It was a great time to use these. When you order the black Stampin' Dimensionals, you're going to get the mini ones and the regular size ones. I'm going to start with the regular size ones, and we're going to bring just 2 of our punches together. By the way, you're going to see right where they go. There's kind of like a little area of the punch. I'm not sure if you can see it there, but it's going to make sure that you get that set so that all of your letters will be centered. So you don't have to overthink it. So we'll line that up, and I'll put another Stampin' Dimensional. Great way to put these together without trying to use adhesive. And it's going to give some great dimension to our box. All right, let's add this one, and then we'll follow up with our last letter. All right, let me flip it over. I spelled it right. Wonderful. I said to go ahead and use the minis. Let's put these minis here on the ends. I just don't want anything to accidentally catch on it, so that's going to give us a little more room. I'm going to bring in my box, find the back. See, there's the back with the seam. We don't want that one. I'm going to take the backings off of my dimensionals, and you can put this anywhere on your box. I think I'll go over here on the left side, just kind of center that up. Now let's add a little flower here. So we're going to take our Sweet Sorbet, our Flirty Flamingo, and this is a piece of adhesive sheet. So each of these are 2.5 by 2.5. Let's take that adhesive sheet. I'm going to peel off the backing on that. This is all sticky. We're going to place that right here on that Flirty Flamingo. Give it a nice little back rub. That's ready to go. Let's bring in some dies. Now, my friends, you can use any of your favorite dies, but I thought the summer shadows were so pretty for this one. So I'm going to use this background and then this outline image. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the solid, and I'm going to die cut that here from my Sweet Sorbet. Now we're going to take the outline, we're going to flip it over because we want that adhesive on the back. We're going to run this die through. And before I peel that backing off, I want to go ahead and get my image lined up because, you know, we've got several sides. Got to find the right one. There we go. So it looks like that's how it's going to go on. So I want to make sure I know that now. Grab that backing. We'll peel that off. This is going to make it so easy, you guys. It's going to go right to the edge. And now we have this gorgeous two-tone flower, so we're all ready to go. And I'm just gonna give myself a little swirl of adhesive right there so I can add that flower. I don't want it coming up and over my box, mainly because, you know, I'm gonna have these tools going in and out of it, and I don't want anything to catch. So we're gonna polish that off with a pastel pearl right there in the center. I love to add a little bling to anything, and I just thought those pastel pearls were so pretty with this. Are you ready? Let's fill this. So, of course, we have our fabulous glue holder. I've got my water painters. I've got a Wink Stella. I've got my take your pick tool, my scissors, my bone folder. Everything fits nicely in there. I think it just looks so nice. And let me just bring in, and I'm going to flip these down because it's very hard for you to see. I'm going to flip these down to see all three of the projects that I created for my desk. So I can create, I can stamp, and I can craft. Now, of course, these words could be anything. That's just what I chose. I want you to get creative. And you know, if putting words on it isn't your thing, again, it's all about creating these fabulous boxes to organize your craft space, and it's a great DIY project. Don't you agree? Down in the YouTube description, I will have links to these two videos. I'll also put it up there in the corner there of your screen, so you can click on it if you'd like to learn how to make either of these. But you notice each of them also have the same little great platform as we just created here. But what a great looking desk I'm gonna have. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? I always appreciate that. And if you have not subscribed, why not just click that great big red subscribe button now? You see it there, click it. YouTube will let you know whenever I'm back with a new video if you click the bell right next to it. And I'd love to have you join me here on my channel. That's all for me today. Enjoy your day. Can't wait to stamp with you next time. Bye-bye.